We talk about trauma in the mental health community like it's this big, scary thing. Like if you have trauma that you are in some way highly defective or especially damaged and in need of some type of groundbreaking intervention, when in reality, you watching this video right now, you have experienced trauma. And you're probably thinking, what? No, I haven't. Yes, you have. And if you watch the rest of this video, I'm going to tell you why. My name is Ramsey Dean, and I'm a clinical social worker and a therapist. I run educational group therapy sessions for people suffering from severe depression, anxiety, as well as other related disorders. And I bring some of that education to you for free on YouTube. So if you have any interest in mental health topics, then subscribe to my channel and join the family. The problem with the way we look at and talk about trauma is that the DSM trains us to think about trauma as exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violence. That comes straight from the diagnostic criteria for PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. And when someone says trauma, this is what we think of. Things like military combat, a serious accident, physical or sexual abuse, a natural disaster. Things like that. And in this very sort of linear thinking, we completely miss what we call little t trauma. I'm talking about things like your spouse or partner cheated on you, you work in a toxic environment, chronic physical pain or illness, divorce, financial emergencies. You're alienated from an important family member like a parent or a child. You got fired from a job. You have a stressful move. You were bullied in school. Your parents didn't meet your emotional needs as a child. You experienced the death of a loved one. These are all examples of little t traumas, and we tend to overlook them because we rationalize these experiences as being common, and therefore we downplay their impact on our mental health. And while we call these types of events little t's, their impact on our life and well-being is anything but little. These events may not qualify for a formal diagnosis of PTSD, but left unchecked, they can cause the same trauma response symptoms. You might find yourself feeling tense or anxious or irritable a lot of the time, having negative thoughts about yourself, other people, or the world. You might start to feel hopeless about life or notice that you feel numb or detached from family and friends. You might feel overwhelmed with guilt and shame or constantly ruminate about your past actions or worry obsessively about the future. And we become particularly vulnerable to the effects of little t trauma when we have multiple distressing events happen, especially in a short period of time. We all either know someone or maybe perhaps have been this person ourselves, where it just seems like they can't catch a break and everything bad happens all at once. Maybe you go through a divorce and then you can't pay your bills on your own. You start getting hounded by collection agencies, so you have to move in with your mother who is overly critical of you and often puts you down. In the middle of trying to navigate all of that, you get in a really bad fight with your best friend and don't talk to them for months. Now we're in a situation where we can't even appropriately process the emotions from our divorce because we're trying to manage the next crisis. So we stuff our feelings down. And in the wake of that, we're collecting more little t trauma that is going on unaddressed. Now, obviously, this is a somewhat extreme example, although I am sure someone watching this video can relate, but you get the point. Life just piles up sometimes, and we go into autopilot mode, just trying to get through the next day, the next problem, the next situation, the next task. If you know what I'm talking about, or you've been in this position, let me know by leaving a woozy face emoji in the comment section down below. But that feeling of overwhelm I am describing, that is the cumulative effect of little t trauma. And I don't tell you all of this to be like, gotcha, see, I told you you have trauma, or to suggest that enduring abuse or life-threatening injury is the same as going through a divorce. I tell you all of this so that you realize pain and suffering is part of our shared reality as humans, and validation of our trauma, big or little, is the first step towards healing. The next time you find yourself feeling drained or behaving in a way that doesn't feel true to yourself, like being snippy or passive aggressive, or you feel disconnected from those around you, rather than beating yourself up, I want you to check in with yourself and ask, am I just having a bad day? Perhaps I'm neglecting some of my basic needs, like maybe I'm hungry or tired, and this is making me more vulnerable to my emotions. Or is there something more going on and I'm not taking the time to appropriately validate my feelings and experiences and all of the little t's I have been going through? If the latter is true, I recommend that you take some time to practice self-compassion. But what even is self-compassion and how do we practice it? Well, to unpack that, let's take a look at the definition of compassion. Compassion is defined as sympathetic consciousness of others' distress coupled with an urgent desire to alleviate it. In short, compassion is different than pity and just merely feeling bad for someone. When we feel compassion, we want to help the person in need get through whatever it is they are experiencing. And self-compassion is taking that same urgent desire to help and applying it towards ourselves. One great way to recognize when you are not acting with self-compassion is to ask yourself how you would treat a close friend in the same situation. Let me give you an example. Let's say you get laid off from your job. If you had a close friend in this situation, you'd probably say something to them like, "You're so smart and talented. It's the company's loss. This just means there's a bigger and better opportunity waiting for you somewhere else. I want you to know that I'm here for you. Hey, how about we grab dinner tonight with a few of our buddies and have some fun to help take your mind off of it?" In contrast, I highly doubt you would say something to your close friend like,
"You're so lazy and stupid. Of course you got fired. I'm honestly surprised it didn't happen sooner. Have fun binge eating ice cream tonight and wallowing in your misery alone with Netflix, you dummy."
You would never in a million years talk to your close friend this way, especially when they are going through something so difficult. But it can be easy to talk to ourselves this way and sometimes not even realize it. Talking to ourselves and treating ourselves like we would a close friend can be a great way to interrupt the spiral of self-criticism. And to bring this back to little t trauma, using self-compassion allows us to be curious about our emotions and our experiences as opposed to being judgmental. This mindset of being curious versus judgmental is important because, one, it empowers us to validate the hard things we go through and our emotions instead of stuffing them away, which, as I mentioned before, is the first step to healing from little t trauma. But also, two, it helps us to stay focused on solutions to our problems as opposed to engaging in behavior that can make things worse. For example, let's think about the person that got laid off from their job. If their inner dialogue says that they are lazy, worthless, it's their fault, etc., this inner criticism may cause them to drag their feet in applying for new jobs because they feel hopeless and unworthy, which in turn is only going to make their problems worse, right? Because now they can't pay their bills and maybe it's causing strain on their marriage. And now we are accumulating more little t traumas. Whereas someone who loses their job and approaches the situation and their emotions with curiosity and self-compassion, while they're going to feel sad and disappointed because there's no way around that, painful things are going to be painful in that moment and we have to work through that. But someone with self-compassion, they're going to be focused on what is within their control to change moving forward and on solutions to managing their painful experience without shaming themselves for having unpleasant emotions. So they feel sad, disappointed, but also motivated to look for a new job and make the best out of a new endeavor. See the difference? The person without self-compassion feels hopeless, helpless, unworthy, and paralyzed in their situation, while the person with self-compassion still feels sad and disappointed, but they also feel motivated and hopeful for the future. They don't feel stuck in their misery. And this is where self-compassion can really help you navigate little t traumas. There's nothing we can do to eliminate the pain we are going through, but self-compassion and validation of our experiences enables us not to let it last very long. If you found this video informative and you're interested in learning about other topics related to mental health, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button over on the side of the screen. I'd love to have you join the community I am building here on YouTube and watch another one of my videos while you're at it because why not? Catch you in the next one. Bye.